Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Laine D'Souza, who's here to share with us her new book, Confidence Unleashed. Be the unstoppable hero of your own heart. So are you looking to embrace life with courage? Well, today we're going to cover just that. So Laine D'Souza is a renowned health and fitness professional specializing in self-development and motivation. With more than 25 years of experience, she has a passion for helping individuals unlock their full potential and has inspired and empowered countless people to overcome self-doubt and achieve their goals. She holds many certifications and has been recognized as one of Shapes magazine's top 50 hottest trainers in America. So let's welcome to the show, Laine D'Souza.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, what an honor it is to have you here to talk about this book. So you have to tell me, what inspired you to write this book?
So I was a trainer, a personal trainer for 20 plus years and still am, but I worked in New York City. And what I really come to see was the way women spoke about their bodies to themselves and what they told themselves about their bodies. And it was just so heartbreaking for me to hear that and then see the image in the mirror was not representative of how they were speaking to themselves or about their bodies. And there was so much like self-loathing when it came to acceptance of their bodies and this need and desire to be this idea of what they thought a body should be, what their body should be, and so much pressure and just so much lack of love. And I have been there myself. So when I was younger, and it was like it manifested through my body, but it wasn't really about my body. And I would see this in so many women. And so I wanted to write this book to basically help women and talk about fitness. And it kind of weaves my story of my childhood and where my lack of confidence came from, and also the fitness industry and what we're told about the industry, and then just how exercise is really a gateway drug to health, and it's a gift from the gods, I believe.
I love that. I love how they become a gateway drug to the to health, which is true. I mean, my goodness, our health really determines the quality of life we will have. And
Yeah.
so, as you're going through your journey and you decide, okay, now I'm going to start writing this book, what did you find were some of the challenges that you were facing with?
So I found when I was writing the book, like for me, I was like, how do I write a book? I'm not an author. I'm dyslexic. And I really struggled at school with academics. My forte was really about my physical and playing sport. And then when I didn't get into the Olympics, my I kind of got felt like I had all my self-worth in this idea that I was going to go to get chosen to be in the Olympics. And then when that kind of failed, I kind of didn't know who I was. So for me, I was struggling with writing because academics is not my strength. And, all these stories I had told myself about writing. So I kind of feel like if I can write a book, anyone can write a book. I really did struggle with staying focused on the topic and how to weave my story in with the idea of what the fitness industry is trying to tell people and how it's marketing towards being confused, and to be clear with people, to give them daily practical tools that they could use. So that was really my struggle in presenting something that was clear and helpful and practical at the same time, and inspirational.
Well, we all need that because there's so many messages. Eat this, don't eat that. Eat, do this, drink that. Work out this way. Don't do carbs. Do carbs. I mean, it's just
Right.
there's so much. So
Well, and I do
how do we
believe that.
navigate that?
Yeah, I do believe that the whole goal is to keep you confused, because when you're confused, you don't make good choices, and also in the state of confusion you're willing to buy. And the health and fitness industry is a multi-billion dollar industry. and it thrives on keeping us confused. So we don't know what protein powder to buy, or we don't know which leggings to buy. And we buy this workout, buy this, buy that. And it's really very simple. I mean, even on terms of nutrition, it is simple. And it's simple with working out too. But we like to make it confusing because then you'll have a client forever, as opposed to, like, instead of empowering people, keeping us confused, and then we need you.
This codependent relationship with their clients as opposed to empowering them.
It's so true. And really, like, if you're in the state of our workouts, if we are pulling something, if we're pushing something, if we're squatting, if we're deadlifting, if we're doing one leg work for muscular imbalances, and we're training our heart and doing some kind of cardio, that's all we need to do. But we make it so confusing. Like, oh, what do I need to do? Really, you just need to resistance train and do some cardio, and that's it. Like, it doesn't have to be this complicated thing. Just move your body every day. And the eating is very simple also. We That's a whole other story, but the food industry, the FDA, what's allowed in America food for longevity and storage, as opposed to what's allowed in Europe, is completely different. And the chemicals that are allowed in our food, as opposed to in Europe, the standard is completely different. And so I do think that the chemicals are also, like, confusing people's bodies and getting us sick. But really, if we ate what, very simply, and people say, oh, eat, balanced. The thing is, if we just take out all the chemicals and ate naturally and made our food at home, we'd be so much better. But we live in this society of convenience, and buy out, buy your food, even a box of cereal, like, it's all like processed food. And if we just came back to eating real foods and learned portions for ourselves, quality control in that way, it would be so much simpler. We just have to make it confusing so people buy more.
And then that cycle continues. It just is a
Yeah.
never ending cycle.
Yeah, and they do literally pay scientists to put addictive chemicals in the food to make it addicted to you. So, like, MSG, all these this have these foods in it. So it's not necessarily our fault in that way, where you eat something or you can taste something and you can close your eyes. And if I said, I don't know, like, I don't want to call something out, but if I said Chick-fil-A, you would already your mouth would kind of water, and the taste. That's because that has MSG in it, and you remember the taste. And they pay scientists to put this in our food so we become addicted to it. And that's the whole goal: sell more. And so many places in the world, the MSG is just not allowed. It's so dangerous for us. And so we think, I have no willpower, but you do. It's literally a chemical addiction that's being put into your body. So, yeah, sadly, our food it needs to have some quality control, and the FDA needs to do a better job for us.
So earlier you mentioned that you were going to the Olympics. What sport were you going to compete in?
So I used to play field hockey on the Astro, because I grew up in Hong Kong and England. And so that was a very big sport where I grew up. We all played that. So for me, that was my sport. And it was supposed to be non-contact, just like soccer, I guess. Non-contact in parentheses. But it's very much contact sport. Um, so yeah, I really did feel like I had all my self-esteem in that idea of that was who I was. I was an athlete. And then when I didn't get in, I tried to get into dance school, and I had to get a certain grade, and I didn't get that grade. And so again, I feel like it took some hits to my self-esteem, thinking that I put everything into the idea of who I thought I was, being defined by something outside of me. And it isn't true. We're so much more than our job or idea of ourselves.
I know you see a lot of clients, you work with a lot of people. What are some of the challenges that people come to you with that they are trying to work through?
So yeah, I have worked with a lot of women, and um so many different things, but one underlying theme is the some people that come to me, I used to have a personal training studio that was a private studio, and there was mirrors in it that were from the wall to the, from like huge mirrors, and that was really so people could see their posture when we would do Pilates and stuff like that, and be able to correct themselves so they could see and feel it. But a lot of people, a lot of women couldn't even look in the mirror. There was so much self-loathing. And when I didn't work in a private studio and I worked in a very busy corporate gym, a lot of women were afraid to come in. They were very intimidated by being in the gym. They thought that people were looking at them. And what I had just noticed from being in this world for so long is that nobody really is looking at you, even though you think they are. They're too busy looking at themselves. And that really is the truth. Everyone's so worried about themselves. And I would see this fear of people being intimidated by something that's unknown, like going into a gym, or um, the uncomfortability in their bodies. And then a lot of women have suffered some trauma in their lives, and just moving their bodies, it our bodies hold emotion in our cells. And so when you're moving energy through your body, a lot of things can come up for people. So I had in my private training studio, it was such a healing space because there was that place of feeling safe and loved, that you were just moving energy, and you could also have that ability to move things from your past. Any kind of yoga movement, working on hips, we store a lot of energy in our hips. So the ability to have that freedom in that private setting was a gift for many people. But yeah, I think that was one of the most things I saw was people were not able to look in a mirror.
That's just so heartbreaking to hear
Yeah.
that. We're so bombarded with information that says we should look one way and do things a different way. I mean, nowadays women have to like put on like a ton of makeup to be considered pretty. And
Right.
so we're being fed all these messages that really aren't serving us very well at all. In your book, you talk about how we can awaken our inner hero. So what do you call our inner hero, and how do we awaken that?
So I would say your inner hero is really that part of you that um, is kind of like a whisper. Sometimes it's loud and sometimes it's barely audible, but it's your true kind of essence, that part of you that knows before you do. That kind of it's you could call it intuition, you can call it um alignment, whatever you want to call it, but it's that feeling that or that feeling that hands are on your back and that you got this. And sometimes when you're in a bad place or a different season in your life, you can't access that. Or it's barely like a whisper, but the whole goal is to let that voice be loud and start to like lead you and listen to it. And then the combination of doing hard things in your life, like doing overcoming things in your life that you didn't think that you could. And every time you overcome yourself, you are building that confidence and trusting yourself.
I love that. And I know in your book you talk about how we should spread gratitude, and that really stuck with me.
Yeah. So it's funny because we can always wake up and find something to be grateful for. And even if it's as simple as you have your heart's beating or you're breathing, because it's so unconscious for us, breathing, that we just take it for granted, but really it is a gift. I mean, you just don't know when your last day is. So the idea of one more day is, we should be grateful for that, and we forget. And I think, like, sometimes you get so wound up with self-pity or worry or fear, to be able to train yourself to wake up and say three things that I'm grateful for, and be able to say those things is a gift. And like, I remember one person taught me when I was on this search that any gratitude is the antidote to anything. Like, you can always find something to get down in the knees of your heart and be grateful for.
I couldn't agree with you more. There's always something to be grateful for. Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We've been speaking with Laine D'Souza in regards to her new book, Confidence Unleashed. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Julie Jansis, the angel medium. Want to know how to hear your angels clearly? Listen to the Angels and Awakening podcast every week. And if you want to go even deeper, register for my free 3-day Angel Fest online retreat to know exactly which angels are working with you. Register today at theangelmedium.com/free. That's theangelmedium.com/free.
Hey, pay attention, everybody. Amy Vaughn and myself, Dutch Mendenhall, are hosting an event. Have you ever felt like the wealthiest in America play by a different rule book? Even if you earn well, make money, invest wisely, educate yourself, there is an invisible barrier. It separates you from the financial security enjoyed by America's elite. The economic landscape changes every day. The wealthy elite know how to stay ahead of it because we play by a different rule book. At Invest Well Summit, we'll share all the plays, and we're making it to win. Spots are going to sell out fast at Invest Well Summit, so get your butt to investwellsummit.com and secure your seat now.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Mary Ann. We're here today with special guest Laine D'Souza, who's here to share with us her new book, Confidence Unleashed. Be the unstoppable hero of your own heart. So in your book, you talk about mirror of appreciation. So what do you mean by that?
So when we talk about being appreciative, and I feel like the people that are brought to us in our lives are the ones that challenge us the most, are actually our gifts, honestly, because I feel like we get to choose so much of our choices, that we choose our life before we come here. And I do really believe that we choose the circumstances of that to teach us to grow and help us get more aligned. And without those people that challenge us, they're lessons to us. They're like little spiritual angels. So it's really about being able to choose to be grateful for the challenges, and choose to be grateful, and choose to see what helps you rise, as opposed to focus on staying stuck or paralyzed.
In your book, you talk about tips to overcome self-doubt. And I love how you bring in that physical activity into this. And I'd love for you to share some of it with us.
Yeah. So honestly, I do believe that for me, I just talk about me, how exercise had saved my life. I was going through a phase multiple times, actually, where I could not get out of bed for myself. And God had brought me this little angel of a dog. And actually, it was my roommate that brought this old dog home. And I was like, why did you bring this old dog? She's so like weird looking and old and just so needy. And we weren't in the place of getting a dog. And she brought this dog, and she's like, I just had this calling to bring this dog home. And this dog saved my life. Like, I literally got up out of bed for her because she needed to go to the bathroom. And I would go on these runs with her eventually. I was at school in Wales, like university, and I would see these hills and I would feel the wind blowing. And I felt very stuck at that moment in my life. And I felt like just moving my body was the first time that I could get out of my head and literally be in my body. And for me, that was a real gift because it gave me peace. Like my mind was churning, churning, churning. And I had an upset stomach and I had irritable bowel syndrome and I couldn't find peace. And the ability to just move my body and get out of my brain was the 1 hour that gave me peace. And I found that when I was able to give back to others by getting them into their bodies and giving them that peace, also took them out of their life and their stress and their worry and helped ground them and be present. And I do believe that so much healing is done in our bodies when we move it. So there's so much, like people have suffered a lot of trauma and people go, oh, just go meditate. That's really hard to do for a lot of people because they have hold that trauma in their bodies and they don't know how to process it. So sitting still and meditating in your brain is not going to work for some people. So there's something called somatic healing, which is a type of healing where Reiki, you're using energy, you're using movement in your body to literally be able to calm the central nervous system and allow that fight or flight feeling of trauma response that would take over um settle, so you can actually be present and be have your feet in the same place as your head and be right there in that moment and have a relationship with a person where they're there and you're here and you're two separate people, not where coming from a trauma response or a flight or fight response where your energies kind of merge into one and you're taking on their stuff. And I do believe that that kind of movement through your body teaches you that. And moving meditations, it could just be simply like a fast walk or a flow of some kind, like a repetitive motion, like swimming or cycling or anything like that, puts you in that state too. So then you can go and meditate. So just like yoga, it kind of moves your body, and then you can have that moment where you can actually sit and actually can be calm because you're no longer in that fight or flight response in your body.
It's allowing you to really focus off your mind and get into your
Mhm.
body in such a great way. One of the things I really liked you talked about is dance. And I was like, how often do we put our radio up and just be at home and just dance?
It's so true, and it's so freeing. And, like, if you ever go to a wedding or something, I remember my age, we would go to clubs and we would dance and stuff. Now, not so much, but going to a wedding and hearing good songs and just dancing, it feels so good. And you're like, oh man, that's so fun. Why don't I do that more? And or even, like Zumba was a thing at one point. And so many of us get in our head that, oh, I'm not a good dancer. I can't dance in public or whatever. But it's really just freeing to just put the music on in your room or in your like living room and just move your body and move some energy out. And that's really what it is.
I understand that. I used to go line dancing with a bunch of friends, and I don't know why, but I was always the one facing the wrong way, but I had fun anyway, you know?
Right? Isn't it so fun? You just go, oh, this is so fun. And you're moving energy. And then you're getting, like I referred earlier, the gateway jug. You're getting endorphins and you're getting dopamine all right there. And you're not even realizing and you're having fun. And that's really why I call exercise the gateway drug, because we can say exercise, movement, whatever it is. But there's a physiological response that happens in your body. And you're getting all of these amazing hits of dopamine and like endorphins. And when you're doing something consistently without immediate results, you're really teaching yourself to have faith. You're showing up anyway without instant gratification. And you know that the results will come if you keep following through. But it teaches us so many things like that consistency. It teaches us um, motivation to show up and teaches us to be present in our body. It teaches us how to handle stress in life because you're choosing to put yourself under pressure in a situation, and then you like, oh, I can do this. I can do anything outside of this. And I do believe it teaches us, you know, confidence in ourselves. And I did have a client that was in a car accident. And, women are generally not as strong in our upper bodies as we are in our lower bodies. But we'd been doing push ups and pull ups and things like that. And she had to push herself out of a car. And I remember her saying, I would not have been able to do that if we hadn't been doing what we had done. So it's almost like you're training for life, and you're training to trust yourself that you can do hard things if you had to.
I love that story. I mean, how empowering is that? And also, I mean, there's a lot of times when, as women and just, everyone in general, I mean, we can't wait for the cavalry to come. I mean, we have to do things ourselves.
Hmm. And it's so funny because me and my husband bought some land, and we are like first generation ranchers. He grew up on a farm, but it was handed down to them. But we bought our own property, and it's funny because we redid everything, from fence lines to water lines to changing the pasture, and doing our own hay bales and stuff, and things where we are, like, there's nobody coming to save you. The weather's coming. You've got to pick up these hay bales, the tractor breaks, you got to learn how to weld. And it's like, you really understand that, a feeling of grit, and that no one's coming to save you. And it's the same with like that, that application that exercise teaches you, like farming or any of that. Like when you've experienced that, you're like, oh, our bodies are so smart. Like, we have a divine intelligence. Like I said earlier, our bodies breathe. We don't breathe. We can make a baby as a woman. We're not thinking about it. It's just natural. It does it without us thinking about it. So our bodies have this divine intelligence, and we kind of get in the way of that. We kind of think that we know better, or we have to like control it. And honestly, if we just sat and let our bodies communicate with us and learned how to listen to our bodies, we know what to eat for ourselves, what reacts to us, what feels better than what doesn't feel better. We do know, and we get so disconnected from that and taught that we don't know, and that we should put our all our responsibilities on other things and outside sources. And if we were to just take back our power, we do know, because our bodies are so innately made and so intelligent, that that's a gift in itself. Just how, like, you were like, oh my God, I used to love to line dance. That for you, like, oh, that's just something that felt good to you. Like, and we don't do the things that feel good to us because they might not be easy or whatever. And it's like, why don't we just come back to what feels right to us, what feels good? And, you know, you don't need to eat the chocolate cake, or sit there and do all of these things that we think, oh, I need to fill up. I need to fill up on these things, instead of just sitting and feeling what we're feeling and letting it pass. We're like, I gotta eat food. I gotta like drink alcohol. I gotta go out and say yes to all the people, instead of just saying, actually, no, I don't want to do that. Let me just sit in this feeling, and this will pass. We're not taught that either, how to listen to our bodies, our divine, intelligent bodies.
So you touched on something that I really want to get into, and I found this so fascinating. Ranch Fit. Okay, let's talk about this. What is Ranch Fit?
So really, it's just a philosophy, honestly, that we can do hard things. And me and my husband realized that, like, he was a Marine and a CrossFit trainer and owner. We owned CrossFit Box and previously. And when we came to the ranch, it's like being there's people who are farm strong, and that's a thing. Like, you just know there's this philosophy that there's no one coming to save you. And the same with exercise, like we had said. And Ranch Fit is we created this because we have a gym on our property, and it's a mixture of, you know, building fence lines and working out and being able to do it all, basically. And that's just the philosophy. But we do like to exercise, and do believe that any kind of movement is exercise, that you're challenging yourself. Like, obviously, gardening, you can be like, oh, I gardened all day, but you do have to like give yourself that time where you're actually scheduling a workout, and getting your heart rate up, and also lifting something that's heavy in a scheduled way. And then I do believe in free flowing movement that's good for the soul.
So, do you offer classes or training, personalized training?
Yes, so we do. We in our gym we have classes. We just offer two a day, and one in the morning and one in the evening. And then we also have an app which you can go on to, and it's just the ability to help people who don't really know what should I do, exercise should I do, and we're like, okay, there's a muscle building one, and then there's a functional training one, which is Ranch Fit, and then there's one that's just chiseled, which is a quick, like 30 minutes, get in and get out and train your muscles and move on. So that's what the app is. And that's what we kind of tried to offer to people that we had clients down south. And then when we moved, they still wanted us to train them. And we just didn't find that Zoom was effective. So we created this app.
Well, thank goodness for that because it allows people to connect with you in just so many different ways. Now, if someone wanted to come and volunteer their time working on your ranch, do you let them do that?
So actually, on Mondays we do have a class that we teamed up with a homeschool, like a micro homeschool, and so we do Mondays, which is Ranch Day, and they come and it's kind of a class, and it's kind of learning that grit, hay bales and building fence lines and fixing driveways and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're open to people. We actually wanted to create mini houses so we could run retreats for people that wanted to learn some ranching and also have a healthier lifestyle, be able to eat the vegetables that we are growing and the meat, and go fishing in the water and stuff, catch their own food. And so eventually that's our goal, to have some ranch fit retreats.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. I can't wait to hear more about that. And my goodness, you also have your own podcast. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I just started it, and honestly, it's kind of morphed into me reaching out to people that I've met along my life that have inspired me, like some CrossFit athletes that have won some CrossFit championships, and then entrepreneurs, and then just some magnificent parents that I know that have great parenting advice, and then just kind of people from all walks of life that I believe have really touched and inspired me and have great like insights for people to live their lives. So it's more of of it was going to be about fitness, but it's a becoming everything. It's a grit fueled kind of talk to people who are gritty and have had to go through struggles in their life and overcome them, and maybe it can help somebody else.
I really like that because I really believe that, while we take care of our body, our, mind and spirit have to follow along as well.
Oh, yeah, and I do believe that's the whole point of our, fitness and wellness, because you can't just focus on the outside of your body, like, I would have these clients when I worked in New York, and they were 25 and they were so young, and they were had these an amazing jobs, like earning like lots of money, and they had bought a therapist, and they were just like, oh well, why, if I'm 120, they were stuck on a number, I'm 125 pounds, why can't I get a boyfriend, why am I doing this, why blah blah, and they were so unhappy with themselves. And it's just like, because we're not learning how that wellness and fitness is mind body spirit, and and you can train your mind just like you can train your body. Honestly, you can train our thoughts. We're in control of our thoughts. Like with cognitive therapy, you can train your mind just like you can train your bicep. And the movement of our heart, like getting healing, is so important on a spiritual basis. So I really believe, like, doesn't matter if you can deadlift 500 pounds but you're miserable, and you have all these body issues, and you have food issues, and you're a jerk, like, and you're miserable, like, what's the point? So it really, wellness and health has to be a mind body experience.
So, Lainey, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community?
Yeah, so my email is wmrranchfit@gmail. Facebook is Laine D'Souza. My Instagram is Lainey Live Laugh Love. And then obviously they can get the book Confidence Unleashed at Amazon or Barnes and Nobles online. And I also have a Macros Made Easy book. So it's just a little book to help people, like a guide, choose better foods. And then The podcast is Ranch Fit as well. And our website is wmrranchfit.com. So those are places that they can reach out and get me.
Well, Laine, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
I am so grateful, and it was such a privilege to have this conversation with you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Laine. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Confidence Unleashed. Be the unstoppable hero of your own heart. Confidence Unleashed is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember, support our indie bookstores. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. Make sure to visit Laine's website and learn more about her fitness classes at wmrranchfit.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.